Islam came to honour women and raise their status, and to give them a position that benefits them, and to take care of them and to protect their dignity. So Islam commands women's guardians and husbands to spend on them, to treat them well, and to look after them and be kind to them. The Quran admonishes those men who oppress or ill-treat women. And Allah says, "O you who believe, you are forbidden to inherit women against their will, nor should you treat them with harshness, and live with them honourably." Sexual violence is a serious public health and human rights problem. Rape is a particularly complex crime to analyse, partly because many sexual assaults are never reported. Surveys suggest that as few as 1 in 10 cases are ever reported to the police in many countries, according to the UN statisticians. However, from what has been reported is shocking. 35% of women around the world have been raped or physically abused. Between 40 and 50% of the women in the European countries experience unwanted sexual advances, physical contact or other forms of sexual harassment at work. In Australia, Canada, Israel, South Africa and the United States, between 40 and 70% of female murder victims were killed by their intimate partners. In the state of Chihuahua, Mexico, 66% of murders of women were committed by husbands, boyfriends or other family members. Globally, as many as 38% of murders of women are committed by an intimate partner. An estimated 150 million girls under the age of 18 suffered some sort of violent sexual assault in 2002 alone. Sexual violence is a significant problem in the United States. Low estimate of the number of women, according to the Department of Justice, raped every year is a figure of 300,000. High estimate of the number of women raped, according to the CDC, 1.3 million. Percentage of rapes not reported, 54%. 1 out of every 6 American women has been a victim of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. 17.7 million American women have been victims of attempted or completed rape. 9 of every 10 rape victims were female in 2003. 15% of sexual assault and rape victims are under the age of 12. 83% of girls aged 12 to 16 experience some form of sexual harassment in public schools. 2012, in the United States, 346,830 women were raped. According to the medical reports, there were around 17,340 pregnancies as a result of rape in 2012. And with sexual assault being one of the most underreported crimes, with over 60% still being left unreported, the figures reach well over 600,000 rape victims. In 1 in 3 sexual assaults, the perpetrator was intoxicated, 30% with alcohol, 4% with drugs. 46% of rapists were released from prison and were rearrested within 3 years of their release for another crime. Sexual child abuse in America. The United States has one of the worst records in the world. Child sexual abuse has been reported up to 80,000 times a year, but the number of unreported instances is far greater because the children are afraid to tell anyone what has happened. 60% of children are sexually abused by someone in their social circle. A study conducted in 1986 found that 63% of women who had suffered sexual abuse by a family member also reported a rape or attempted rape at the age of 14. Recent studies in 2000, 2002 and 2005 have all concluded similar results. 40 to 80% of juvenile sex offenders have themselves been victims of sexual abuse. Approximately 1/3 of offenders are themselves juveniles. 23% of reported cases of child sexual abuse are perpetrated by individuals under the age of 18. Many child sexual abuse victims never disclose their abuse to anyone. Less than 10% of the child sexual abuse is reported to the police. UK statistics. According to the Ministry of Justice, Home Office and Office for National, between 2009 and 2010 and 2011 to 2012, there were an estimated 78,000 victims of rape per year in England and Wales, 69,000 females and 9,000 males. Over 400,000 women are sexually assaulted each year. The survey also shows that in 2011 to 2012, 1 in 5 females aged between 16 and 59 had been the victims of sexual offence or attempted offence since the age of 16. In the latest figures from 2012 to 2013, it is estimated that around 1.2 million women suffered domestic abuse and over 330,000 women were sexually assaulted. Domestic and sexual violence is often hidden away behind closed doors, with the victim suffering in silence. Child sexual abuse. 9 out of 10 children know their abuser. They are likely to be a relative, family friend, or person in a position of trust rather than a stranger. In the UK, 1 in 20 children have been sexually abused. Over 90% of sexual abuse victims know their perpetrator in some form or way. 68% are abused by a family member, with about 80% of offences taking place in the home of either the offender or the victim. 18,915 sexual crimes against children under the age of 16 were recorded in England and Wales between 2012 to 2013. 40,345 individuals were registered as sexual offenders in England and Wales on 31st of March 2012. 29,837 offenders are on the sex offenders register for sexual offences against children. Around 65% of women that contact rape crisis centres are adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. List of the top countries with the highest rape crime in the world. The United States, a nation of around 313.9 million and a superpower of the world, South Africa, has one of the highest rates of rape in the world, with some 65,000 rapes and other sexual assaults reported for the year of 2012. The incidence of rape has led to the country being referred to as a rape capital of the world. South Africa has amongst the highest incidences of child and baby rape in the world. According to the government figures, 90% of women have experienced emotional and physical abuse and 71% have experienced sexual abuse. The United Kingdom. In January 2013, the Ministry of Justice, Office of National Statistics and the Home Office released its first ever joint official statistics bulletin on sexual violence, entitled An Overview of Sexual Offending in England and Wales. According to a report, approximately 85,000 women are raped on average in England and Wales every year. Over 400,000 women are sexually assaulted each year. Sweden has one of the highest incidences of reported rapes in Europe and one of the highest in the world. One amongst every 4 women comes out to be the victim of rape in Sweden. By 2010, the Swedish police recorded the highest number of offences, about 63 per 100,000 inhabitants. In India, rape is the fastest growing crime in the country. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, 24,923 rape victims were reported across India in 2012 alone. But experts agree that the number of unreported cases of sexual assault brings the total much higher. The latest estimate suggests that a new case of rape is reported every 22 minutes in India. 24,206 rapes were reported in 2011. Israel is one of those few nations where the victims of rape are not only the women but also the men. It is very unfortunate that the men and the boys are also sexually harassed and badly raped. According to a survey conducted by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Labour, 35 to 40% of women have been sexually harassed at a workplace. According to the statistics of rape crisis centres throughout Israel, both sexual perpetrators and victims are getting younger. Pornography appears to foster rape fantasies and desires in the men who view it. Recent research suggests that pornography also plays a role in overcoming internal barriers against acting out these desires. Germany. Over 5,000 women and college-going girls have become victim of this shameful crime during February 2014. France. Rape was not a crime in France until 1980. Laws reinforcing women's rights and safety are relatively recent in France. The law making rape a crime dates back only to the 1980s. Early decrees were based on the 19th century moral codes. A law on sexual harassment was approved in 1992 and one on moral harassment was passed in 2002. The last bill to fight violence against women was passed last year. The population of France is around 66 million people. Government studies show that over 75,000 rapes a year in this country occur. Only about 10% of these victims file complaints. Every year, about 5,000 to 7,000 of these rapes are gang rapes. Canada. It is reported that over 1 in 3 women had experienced a sexual assault and that only 6% of sexual assaults were reported to the police. According to Justice Institute of British Columbia, 1 out of every 17 women is raped. 62% of rape victims were physically injured and 9% were beaten or disfigured. A woman is sexually assaulted by forced intercourse every 17 minutes in Canada. 80% of assaults happen in the victim's home. 70% of rapes are committed by a perpetrator who knows the victim's relatives, friends, neighbours, colleagues and other acquaintances. Approximately 1/2 of all rapes occur on dates. Belgium. An increase of 20% was cited in the rape rate from 2009 to 2011, and the rate is on an increment up until now. According to the latest news, on June the 11th, 2013, 8 different cases of rape were reported on a single day. The Russian Federation. Russia is also at the peak regarding rape cases. It was reported that even in World War II, Red Army conducted gang rapes during the war, which was the major cause of their defeat. Since then, a number of rape cases are caught and the rate is increasing every year. Poland. Women are being kidnapped, raped and killed. Every year, females are threatened and raped, and the rate is said to be increasing by the day. Statistics compiled by Poland's National Police Headquarters indicates that the number of rapes in the Polish schools has increased 5-fold over the last year, and the list goes on. Please don't forget to like us and share us on the Digital Mimba Facebook and Twitter. Please also subscribe to the Digital Mimba YouTube channel in the links below.